Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity. You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search, focus that fire. And so we come together. Join us. Join the discussion. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on October 11th, 2019, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the updates concerning the infamous Crota Fireteam. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is Ariana's stunt double, Green-Eyed Music Lover.
The Ariana's stuff double?
Stunt double.
Okay.
I tried. And honestly, I wrote down Eris's stunt double, but it came out as Ariana's. So I'm just rolling with it.
Ariana's stuff double and Eris's stump double. I don't... Okay, anyways. So, and last but definitely not the least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend WykidJestr. Wykid, how are you doing?
Yeah,
no, I just the only reason I was able to get through that somewhat smoothly is I have it scripted right in front of me because I don't, no, Raz, no, don't read chat.
I'm sorry. I apologize for this introduction, ladies and gentlemen. This will go on bloopers. Oh gosh, Wykid, how are you?
Yeah, usual introductory question. Let's put Wykid in the spotlight.
Right, I am doing great. It's been an interesting week. I'm glad to hit the weekend. So lots of game grinding. Got family coming in, so it's been hectic to say the least.
Oh yeah, it happens. All right, so. First off, where can we find you online?
Okay, so online you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Xbox, and PlayStation as WykidJestr, WykidJestr, on all four of those.
Mm-hmm.
The streaming portion is currently under revamp until we get done with our move. We are going to be moving back out to the East Coast, so our time is going to be a bit different. And hopefully be able to play with more people with our schedules. We have kids and everything there in the daytime. I also role play as Toland and Nezarek online on Twitter. Shin as well on occasion, but I've kind of shut that account down. Other than that, really on PlayStation, by all means, if you guys see me around, hit me up, send me a message, say hi. Don't teabag me, I'll come after you.
Okay. Warning. Message received. Eagle 1.
And I will record it and post it on YouTube.
All right. Well, as always, we will put all those details in the show notes. So if anybody would like to find you, they can reach out and message you and maybe run when they see you in Crucible, because that sometimes happens. But taking Blue's gig a little bit tonight, and I'm okay with it. But since we have had you on the show before, and you've already answered some of our normal questions. I thought I'd ask you a slightly modified question. And what I'd like to ask you is, what got you into liking Toland? Because Lord knows nobody else likes him. And you're like the one guy I know who's like a super, super major defender of him. But everyone else is just like, he's just a jerk. I'm one of those.
Yes, I am very aware of that. So, with me, when I first started reading about Toland, number one, I love being a devil's advocate from the get-go, just because I enjoy making people really think about their arguments. Because if somebody just comes up to me and says, "Oh, I hate Toland," well, why? Oh, his voice is annoying. That's not. Is that really your reason for hating Toland? Especially when they've got such an involved story. I really love to hear when people get involved with the stories. So, with Toland in particular, once I really delved into his character, just because he was automatically just an attraction to me, because he was the guy everybody hated, and I love those people. I love villains. Villains are what really drives a story forward. And as I got to really know him, I discovered that he was really one of those villains, at least as far as I interpreted him, to be the best kind. The one that is misunderstood, the one that is always shunned, and that is always seen as something that he really isn't. And again, this is my personal opinion, my personal view on it. Because, and we're going to delve into this as far as the actual Fireteam members themselves. We're going to talk about each one of them. But Toland, to me personally, was always firstly judged on the action of the Fireteam and not his motivations behind why. It was just the face value judgment. And I think that a lot of the problems that come with today's society is they see things on the surface and they don't look for any deeper meaning to it, and they judge it based on that. So, to me, Toland represents this is what happens to the people when you really single them out, and that when you judge them and don't actually fully understand what they're trying to do. When you just push them away and push knowledge away, this is what happens. This is the kind of tragedy that can happen, and what kind of individual they can really turn into. Because Toland's motivations, in the end, he is a guardian. He may not be a light bearer anymore because he had his light drained from, or he had his ghost taken away from him, and he's no longer a physical corporeal form. He may not be serving the traveler anymore, but I think at his deepest core, he is absolutely very much still a guardian. And people don't really see that because they see a lot of this. They see a lot of his faults, because what is really presented in the lore and is easy to read is his negative actions. Which, granted, I will be the first to admit, Toland's a jerk. Like he really is. So, but he has reasons to be. He has motivations, and really, in my mind, he's no different than Shin Malfur is. Dredgen, all of that stuff. There's a rhyme and a reason for it. So,
yeah, he's just a jerk. He's just the concept, and we have messages not to trust him now in game, in lore. We have just so much information that's not positive towards Toland in a lot of ways.
mm-hmm.
It's just really hard to like him. And it's just, I respect you. I respect your opinion, and that's why I bring you on. But he's such a jerk.
He is. I know.
It's hard to get past it. He's more of a jerk in my eyes than Drifter is. And I'm sure Drifter has left done way worse things in some respects, but I don't know. I'm biased. It's
The
fine.
things he's eaten.
Oh, let's not talk about that. All right, so Tolan lore, a big draw-in for you and everything going on. Crazy question. I think that is my crazy question because it's so out there for somebody. And it's still like, I just don't get it. You've explained it to me. You've explained it on the show now. And I just don't agree. And I'll respectfully disagree that I just don't like him, and it's okay. And it's okay to disagree.
That's fine though, because he is a villain. He is to an extent. You want to be able to hate those people, or not hate them, but you want to be able to dislike them, to find the faults in them, because that's the part that lets you know you're still human.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you find yourself to the point where you're just like, oh yeah, he makes complete and total sense, and I agree with everything you do, and I do exactly that,
then I'd be a little scared.
Yeah, you might you might need to go talk to somebody. But it's the character development behind that. It's the people when you can understand this is where it goes a step too far.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it really becomes an issue, and being able to identify that. That's what really makes it relatable, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically in this release, we really get to see some other sides of Toland that I don't think we've seen. Things that, because D1 was all about Toland the Shattered, and he's insane, deep into the Hive lore. And in all reality, I imagine whenever people thought of Toland, they just thought of just this little creature sitting on the side of a rock, just be like, and like covered in hive rock and all this other, like, just really weird, off-putting thing that just loved the hive and was all about it. And that wasn't really him at all.
Oh my gosh, Blue. Toland is the patron saint of those people who sacrifice the raid blueberry to the boop wall.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
That's one way to look at it.
I'm not wrong.
It doesn't even have to be a blueberry. It doesn't even have to be a blueberry. It could be like.
Well, I mean, blueberry, like noob. Like, anyways, anyone who if you're the type of person, granted I am, who has told people, okay, this next section you need to run up and touch that ball of light to start it off, and we're going to let you do it. If you're that type of person, Toland is your patron saint. Because then if you suddenly, and then wait for it and go, boop, woo!
And then you just hear a lot of cursing.
Yep.
And all you're doing is just laughing.
I'm on the ground at that point. I'm just on the ground at that point.
That was like, I know they've tried to do it since then, but that was like the best Bungie prank.
Oh, yeah.
That turned into an actual mechanic. Like,
yeah.
Bungie, you know, whoever did that was just like, I'm going to get so many people with this kind of thing. Like, I am evil, and I'm going to knock every single one of you off. I'm trying to remember.
I think they said that entire area was actually inspired by a Castlevania level, actually.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, I want to say it was. You probably asked Pins. Pins. There it is. Pins has a special relationship with that wall.
Also, not a platformer.
Pins and jumping puzzles in general.
Ask him how he feels about the Outbreak Prime level 0 hour.
Outbreak Prime, man. Talk to him about Last Wish.
Oh man. Anyway, I think that is. I know we're going to get more into your defense of Toland later, because we're going to talk about Toland in the different episodes as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Blue to do, because I didn't do a community thing because, you know, I'm living life and it's being really scary right now. But Blue, it's your turn.
So like really quick, I know
basically, I think this is a appropriate time to kind of make a call out to this. But last week, or this week, I guess yesterday. Wow, that's weird. Time is really weird for me right now. But
Lose a Vex confirmed.
yeah, it's not the worst thing I've been told. No, so like, just I want to take a couple seconds and kind of give a call out to mental health. And I think the reason why I feel like this is an appropriate time is because we'll get into this with the figure of Eris, because as we kind of talked about, I think in top 3, which you guys will hear on Wednesday, but there is a process of healing that we actually are kind of walking Eris through with regards to the nightmares, and that's a really cool thing to kind of be involved in from a story perspective, from a mechanics standpoint. That's something that's really cool. But it's also something that quite a few people have actually had to go through in real life. Like that is something that is a very pressing issue. And this week was the week that had I believe it's the National Mental Health Day. And so there was a lot of outpouring of people kind of basically opening up about, issues that they've had, just letting people know that they're not alone. And I think that's really important, because when you're in the middle of, whether it's an anxiety attack, whether it's depression, panic attacks, what have you, sometimes it does feel like you're absolutely all by yourself. And the reality is that you're not. And I know for America in the United States, we have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We have multiple websites that have confidential chats. There's a lot of health organizations that supply suicide prevention lifelines as well, not just the international, or the ISAP or ISSP. IASP. Wow, that is a weird acronym. Which is the International Association for Suicide Prevention. Is basically the same concept as the NSP, but it's for international. And so that spans all over. I know the UK has a number of really good organizations as well. I'm not as familiar with the UK area for that. Oh, sorry, Raz, it's World Mental Health Day. Sorry. But I want to encourage people, if they feel, we've kind of made this comment before on the episode or on the show, but again, if there's anything that we can do, whether that is to listen, whether that is to just be someone to talk to, please let us know. If you need help or need anything like that, please do not hesitate to give a call to these lifelines. The people who work on these lifelines are extremely qualified for these exact situations. And so, whereas talking to your friends, talking to your family, that's very important and that's very healthy. Sometimes, it's hard because they're not necessarily prepared to help you with maybe what you're going through. And that's where these numbers, these contact lines come in really handy. And so I just wanted to give a kind of a special announcement there, just again, you're not alone. That's never the case. And I know sometimes, I've myself have gone through it. Sometimes it feels like you're alone. It feels like you're the only person going through this problem. And the reality is that even though that's what it feels like and that's what you're experiencing in the moment, there are people who are standing by to help. And it's a monumental ask, but all you have to do is reach out. So that's really all I got. I just wanted to kind of give a call out to that, especially in light of this past week. With World Mental Health Day, and then also in light of this conversation, I think with the Crota Fireteam, it's kind of a nice little tie-in to kind of use that there. But with that being said, let's run through our housekeeping notes just real quick, and then we will jump right into it.
Last week, we discussed fallen leadership. If you're enjoying the show, please be sure to rate, and if you don't mind, leave us a review on iTunes or comment on the episodes on Podbean or whichever podcasting app you use to enjoy podcasts. Reviews are extremely helpful as they not only let us know what we can do better for you, but also help to continue to expand the FFC family, allowing more and more perspectives to be heard. To those of you who have already taken the time to leave us a review, thank you. As many of you are aware, Focus Fire Chat is a community in which we offer the chance to dive into lore from within various titles and mediums, with a special focus on the Destiny universe. Every Friday at about 10 p.m. Central, the podcast team gets together to stream a summary of the chosen topic for that week. The hope for this is to help encourage dives into aspects of game lore within both our Discord server and within the other communities we share the digital world with. If you're a fan of lore in all its various forms, be sure to also check out thelorenetwork.com, a central hub for content that covers a wide variety of different titles and mediums. Our full show notes for each week's topics will be posted here, so for the additional information or guest details, be sure to check the site out. Next week's topic is going to be a look at the lore book Ecdysis. That being said, however, we still want to hear your thoughts about this week's topic. Be sure to weigh in over on Discord, and don't be shy in tagging any of the team in the conversation. We cannot wait to read what your thoughts are. For now, let's get back to the show. So, for this week, how do we want to dive into this, do you guys think?
I think as far as an introduction, I kind of wanted to do the who's, what, where, when, why thing. It's actually going to work with this episode. This is like the first time
I didn't
all of them
delete
have
it.
worked.
I did have to delete it.
Oh my gosh. Also just kind of do a history, not only of what we got in D1, but also kind of stuff that we know about what led up to this event and what happened in the event. Just a very brief summary type thing, more so than anything else. And then maybe do a few old theories, or like talk about a little bit of concepts that come up with that before we go into all the new lore and the crazy advanced stuff that we're getting with Shadowkeep. Does it sound like a plan?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, so who are on Eris's fire team? They're currently around her, torturing her as specters, as not really them, but she knows of their memory. And the members on the fire team are Vel Tarlo, Sai Mota, Ariana 3, Omar Aga, Tolan the Shattered, and of course, Eris Morn. What they did is they attempted to take out Crota on the moon prior to us back in D1. If you're a veteran, if you're not a veteran and you're joining us now in D2, thank you and welcome. And you have cookies at the door, but they were the...
They have raisins.
Oh gosh. Talk about a throwback.
But does it
Raisins.
does it have celery too?
I want peanut butter to complete the ants on a log.
So hoping that we get peanut butter.
Anyway, so
for some context, this is
right,
the past.
so-
this is the past 3 years Festival of the
it
Lost.
was D1 Festival of the Lost. I don't think we even got anything last year
Oh no,
because it was D1. You had
no,
the
we
raisins
didn't. Yeah, right.
and the celery.
Because Eris wasn't here last year.
Right. So we had back in D1, you got raisins the first year for doing like the Festival of the Lost, which is the Halloween event. Instead of getting candy from her like everybody else gives you, you get this weird box of raisins.
So,
And then
so the best part about that was that Morla actually gave out raisins.
Oh yeah, for that Halloween, I remember.
I was like, yes.
Following that, if you kept the raisins, because everybody's a klepto and kept a hold of them, and like there was nothing you could really do with them. But if you kept them in your vault and you could turn them in the next year at Festival of the Lost, in which she gives you celery. Everybody, once we got the celery, you're like, okay, raisins, they're still kind of sweet. Sure, it's like handing out prunes, right? Eris is the old grandma of the tower without being a grandma. It's fine. She's just the crotchety old woman. But when you get celery, you're just like, what you doing? We're going to have a problem. But everybody in the community was screaming they wanted peanut butter because it would make ants on a log. You put celery, smear the peanut butter on it, and then you put the raisins on top, and it's an after-school children's snack. Anyway.
Sorry. Anybody who keeps raisins for 3 years.
They became ascendant raisins, thank you very much.
Yes, they did. I forgot about that.
Along with the artichoke.
Yes.
Oh, yes. The artichoke. The artichoke that was the artifact for the hunters. It was not actually an artichoke, was it?
No,
the rose?
no.
It was
No, yeah, okay. There was that. That was Dredge and yours rose. That was the that was the nuclear artichoke, was what we always called it. But there was actually also it was the celery, and then
there is an ascendant artichoke.
there was an ascendant
forgot.
artichoke. The ascendant artichoke, I think, was last year, because that was from Cade.
That was from Cade. Yeah.
Oh, right. Because he was mocking Eris. Got it. Okay.
Cade got involved in some kind of hive ceremony.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Cade gave us an artichoke that got caught in a hive ritual or something.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so as you can tell, this expansion has brought up a lot of fun old memories. It's for us, at least, not for Eris so much. Like that segue back into it. So Eris's fire team attempted to attack Crota and kill Crota on the moon. The reason why it was actually a vengeance hit, because Ariana 3, one of the members on the team, lost her partner during a major war event on the moon, where thousands of Guardians went up there to take control of the moon again from Crota, because Crota's minions and everything. There was just lots and lots of hive out on top of the moon, and it was called the Great Disaster because Crota showed up essentially and started taking everybody out permanently, even killing some, I think it was a hunter or maybe a Titan, with a knife made of his own ghost.
Yep.
Which is terrifying. So Ariana 3 finds out from slightly unreliable source that Wei-Ning is dead, and plans to get revenge on Crota. She assembles this fire team of Eris. She and Eris are kind of the 2 point men on the fire team. Ariana is the one with the vengeance. Eris was just kind of a support figure for her through most of it. And they come together to create this plan to not only get Vel, Sai, and Omar, but they really wanted to get Toland in particular because he was the Hive master of Hive Arcana, essentially. And Toland at this time was in banishment, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was in exile. And just a point of clarification there, they actually didn't want to get Vel. They tried to they
Vel
avoided,
volunteered.
Yeah, Vel volunteered himself, yeah.
There is slight brushing up against that concept because Ariana wanted to get Vel.
Oh, yeah,
according to one of the cards.
But Eris convinced
not.
her. Yeah, Eris talked her out of approaching him, and then he found out and volunteered anyways.
Right. So from there, we get into some of the history and everything of what actually happened. So what triggered the fire team to form? Wei-Ning's death during the Great Disaster, and the events. What were the events following? What were the events on the moon leading up to the fire team's formation? Prior to the Great Disaster was the K1 event, which we are learning about now in Shadowkeep. If you got the collector's edition, you have the booklets that have a ton of information in there about how that was going on. Or if you just go into the lost sectors, you can kind of see where they were. And then the fall of Yor, then we get to the Great Disaster. So those events, I know Wykid has a theory with some of those events. Wykid, do you want to jump in here at all, or am I good to keep going on this?
Well, there's a couple of different things that, as far as with that specific sequence of events, that I was kind of curious on. In particular, one of the first ones being Ariana finding out about Waning's death from the source that we're talking about, when I read the card, one of the things that I think has been actually indicated before was the Hive have had or have been able to talk before, or have been able to communicate back and forth as far as with Dredgor and the wizard. And now we've got Ariana 3 talking to this wizard. In the lore card prior to that, where it discusses Ariana 3 and Wade's relationship, there's a very... Wayne is a very jovial individual, and Ariana 3, she's very dedicated, but she doesn't seem a malicious individual. She is a disciple of the Praxic Order, and Blue, you might be able to answer this one. Is there any clarification as to whether or not a disciple is actually part of the Praxic Order, or are they like an apprentice? I'm not sure about.
So, like, the understanding is there's, like, we don't really know much about the ranks within the Praxics. We do know that the Cormant Blade, or the Cormant Seal, is reserved for it's basically like a Medal of Honor kind of thing. Like, it's like you are an exceptional member of the Praxics. Because we kind of learned that a little bit actually from Anor, because she also is a bearer of the Praxic, or the Cormant seal. Cormant seal.
Cormant?
Yeah.
Cormorant blade. It's the freaking
Anyway.
bird. It's a giant. It's a bird. It's a bird.
It's a bird. It's a bird.
It's a bird. Burb. It's a burb.
Burp, 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 burp.
But and so like. Being what that is, you know, she is a follower of the Praxic fire, the concept of Praxic fire, because that's what, you know, basically what happens at the end. As far as like the whole interrogation piece, I kind of think it makes sense, because the Praxics are the pragmatic warlocks. They're the ones that don't hesitate to get their hands dirty. Whereas others tend to distance themselves from, not from necessarily wet work, but they distance themselves in the sake of making sure that rationally it makes sense before they do something.
Praxis did pull the actual the quote. She is
marked
she
by
is
the
a
Cormant seal. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
okay,
she
perfect.
is a full member.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I mean, the Cormorant seal is something that only like I said, only like really distinguished members. Yeah. And it's a thing that is it's noticed, like it's known throughout the city too. We learned that from Anor, because that's how Anor managed to clear the train. Was she used the Cormant seal, and she was like,
she flashed her badge.
Yeah, she flashed her badge basically, and everyone got off without too much question. So it's something that is recognized.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking that is an interrogation is a pretty, as far as just using wartime doctrine, an interrogation is automatically one of those where it's a pretty high level thing to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of red lines and red tape that you have to cross in order to do something like that. And when I first read that card, I did not. There's a couple of different ways that I felt you could interpret it. One was I know that some people have taken it as like a premonition, where Wei-Ning had not died yet, and the wizard was trying to kind of
scare her.
Scare her a little bit, which has all kinds of interesting tie-ins to that. Meant essentially that the hive was looking into her brain at the same time as she was looking into the hives.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then there's also that potentially what had happened there was not that it was trying to show her the battle that was taking place or that would take place, but showing her or making her remember Wei-Ning's death. Basically, either the two of them were not there, or maybe she was around in the area when Wei-Ning was brought low by Crota, and showing her that memory, because that would be inspiration for her in particular to go to such lengths to find answers.
Well, and my only disagreement is the ending of that card. because at the end of the card, they get a call from the Guardians at Mare Imbrium, and they rush from the interrogation to provide reinforcements. So the Great Disaster is going on at that time.
That's not that same card, though, is it? Because
that's the interrogation that's the interrogation of the wizard, because that's how it ends.
Warlock 2, Ghost Fragment Warlock 2. She says, "Get your sparrows," but where does it say that she gets a call? Because she's relaying what the wizard showed her to
real quick.
The other person in it. So the card we're referencing is Ghost Fragment Warlock 2.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Ariana 3, disciple of the Praxic Warlocks, marked by the Cormorant Seal. And she's interrogating the wizard here. It responds to pain. She's recording that as well, possibly also dictating it to somebody else in the room. I don't see where she got a call.
Third paragraph from the bottom. It's the response from the ghost. It says, "Crota marches with 1,000 knights, and they say the sky above Mare Imbrium has turned into green fire. They are dying in numbers I cannot bear to repeat."
Okay, so the backslash is designating the ghost. See, this is not actually... Okay, that's how that is. I thought she was just...
That's how I always took it, because it's... if you down... Okay, so it starts, she does the intro, blah, 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 my name is... And then sound of current, and then it says / Ariana, it responds to pain.
There's a word, yeah.
There's nothing, nothing, there's the static. And then it asks, should I burn it again? No, I think you're only feeding it. I will touch its mind. Ghost, help.
Mm-hmm.
So,
now, the Great Disaster was a war that lasted quite a while.
We don't know for sure.
See, and that's where it kind of gets debatable, because you also have the new introduction with Gunnar, the Dawncaller, and then also Toland has a quote as well that, basically concerning the Crota rising from the Hellmouth. To me, honestly, the disaster really, it wasn't a war as much. It was a single, quick event. And I kind of mentioned this to Green, the reason that the Great Disaster was even a thing was because the Guardians got cocky. Which goes back to Razelighter's entry, and the Battle of Burning Lake. They eked out a victory over these knights, and they're like, yeah, we're tough. They basically got the bully syndrome on the playground, and then a bigger bully came around.
Lord Shax, the consensus did not. We barely eked out victory at Burning Lake, and now you think we're ready to attack the moon? We're preparing. Did you not read my report from Burning Lake about the Hive's weapons? Those swords, they're like nothing we've ever... So they knew about the swords before even going to the moon to the Great Disaster.
They knew about the swords of the blades of Crota, but they did not. Yes. I mean, they had no fat. They had no way to fat, because the thing is also like with the Ascendant blades, the blades they're described as something that paradoxically becomes sharper and more deadlier the more they're used. Normally, a blade becomes duller. And so as a hive ascends through the ranks, the blade becomes more powerful. So, if they barely eked a victory out at Burning Lake, that's probably against some low-hanging knights, really. That's not there. And then you also have the Swarm Princes who are guarding and who created and then guard the Sword of Crota, who we actually take out. Mm-hmm. And then Crota himself with his own Ascendant Blade, or his cleaver, which is described in Warlock 2 as literally being able to suck the light. He kills them one by one with a sword that eats their light. Mm-hmm. And then that's where she responds with, kill the wizard, scatter the ash. It has nothing but lies to offer. We have light and fury. That will be enough.
Okay, so if this is a premonition, if this is a foretelling of what is supposed to happen on the battlefield, according, then what I'm noticing from that is that there's essentially the Wizard One was able to identify or had already known somebody who was close to Ariana 3. If she's showing, or if the Wizard is showing Ariana 3 specifically Wei Ning's death.
Basically, how did she know what Wei Ning looked like, and how did she know that much about Ariana?
That's one of the concerning things that I have. Was this kind of one of those enemy on a blade kind of instances where the bridge was made, and these two are essentially reaching into each other's minds?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We have plenty of conversations about staring into the void.
We do. And if they're capable of premonitions, if they're capable of looking into the future and seeing, it goes back to what other precognitive abilities did the Hive have?
Well, and I interject again here. We don't know that this is actually a premonition, right? It could be like what you were saying earlier. It could be that it's just jacking with her. You know, it's the counter interrogation method. Like, oh, you're going to come into my mind? Okay, well, you know, of all the creatures to have a mental battle with, the Hive is probably not the one that you want to go into battle against the Wills with, because their entire existence is all about, you know, the will, especially wizards. Wizards are extremely cognizant of things that are going on, who are mentally, you know, their mental acumen is very high. And so, you know, where you have this very odd mind meld going on, which I also am curious how that even works, but
I mean, hive mind.
You're the ghost.
Well, no, but I mean, like, because she's like, I will touch its mind. I'm like, okay, so wait, what? Like, what? Calm down there, Spock. Like, calm down, Spock. What are we doing here? Like,
she takes a piece of its mind essentially each time when she's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, I don't know, the connection point of, could it be a live, quote unquote, a live feed of what you're seeing or what's going on? Could it be a hive mind where the wizard is just showing her what's currently happening above?
Mm-hmm.
Then,
oh yeah, I can also see that. That's actually how I took it, was that it was just being like, you're you think that you're preventing something, but I'm just distracting you. Like,
oh, speaking of that, there was one theory that I did talk to Green about that goes into thinking that you're doing one thing and actually causing another.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to Eris, in regards to relations to this fire team, one of the things that we've seen as almost like a running gag in Destiny lately has been the appearance of the Ahamkara hunt. And there is one interaction between Wei Ning and Eris Morn where...
Are you insane?
Yeah, and Wei Ning essentially is sitting there beating down and destroying this one Ahamkara, feeding it through her desire, but just pummeling the crap out of it, destroying it utterly. And she's using that confrontation and that battle to draw in 6 other Ahamkara at that point in time. And as soon as the Ahamkara appear, Eris blinks and puts them all to the blade. 1 was used as bait, and 6 more appeared and were put to the blade.
Which, can I make a small interjection for people who are not D1 players? Back in D1, Arc Hunters were not the bow staff. They were more like the spectral knives. They actually were, what was the actual name? Blade dancers. So Eris was a blade dancer. They also had the capability of blink jump like the warlocks do. So when Wykid said that she blinked, it wasn't that she was closing her eyes necessarily. It was that she jumped in.
She Croto'd them. That's how you sword bearer the Crota. You punch him in the back, go invisible, and wait.
Yes.
Pretty much, yes.
It's totally legit.
So I just thought it was an interesting kind of mirror that, specifically in the Ahamkara War, once again, I find something that looks very eerily similar to something that happened later on down the line.
With the actual Crota fire team?
With the actual Crota fire team, in that this one witch just so happened to find the one warlock who would be pissed off enough and want revenge so badly that she would blindly needed into the Hellmouth. She just so happened to find the one warlock they needed.
Or they're just playing off the weaknesses. You
Correct.
know.
Well, I think that's part of it. Is they were playing off the weakness, but I don't think that there's I don't think there's too much of a lack of planning on their part, because, and we'll go into this further on down the line once we go into the sequence of events that happen in Fireteam. But there are those that actually point out we were supposed to be here. We were meant to be here. They wanted us here.
Mm-hmm.
Tolan says that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm going with that, is that this was part of the plan, that something like this had to happen in order to get a team down there. So,
Yeah.
But that's enough of my spin for it.
No, you're good. That's good. It's good for the first episode. So we have kind of the background of what causes all of this. Then we get into the fact that this fire team actually goes into the Hellmouth, and we start losing them one by one.
They
If
don't
you'd
even
like to
get
listen-
in before they start losing them.
I know. They lose
Sorry.
the one Titan.
Sorry.
The Titan had one job to survive to the end so they can bubble. Oh gosh. Yeah, he dies before they even get in the door, really. But
It's like a bad
Behind
D&D
me.
story. It's like, attack! Oh, nope. Turn around, run away. Get out of there.
yep. And that one guy is just dead. Roll a new character sheet. Yeah, so
Spectacularly dead.
if you would like to listen to the whole story in great detail, you can go and find it on our episode 40 back from 2017. 2016. 2016 we did that episode. We did episode 40, which was the Crota Fireteam story from D1 as we knew it back then. The story has basically stayed the same. Before they even get in the door, Veltarlo, the Titan, gets killed, technically not by Alakul, by himself, but he gets pinned to the ground, and you see this when you're giving Eris the mark of Veltarlo. You see Vel get pinned to the ground with a giant axe, which is the weapon of choice for the Dark Blade, which was Alakul, which we kill in a strike during Taken King.
That
But
strike.
oh yes, I actually really liked that strike.
I did too. Until you had to do the sword variation. That was just a pain in the butt, but
Yeah. But okay, so Vel gets pinned to the ground by Alakul. Then a bunch of Thrall come out at him and just basically maul him to death. And
as they do.
I don't remember. Yeah, as they do. So he dies basically at the door.
Which, can I make a comment here that I think it's hilarious that one of the things that Eris and Ariana picked out about him specifically was how wonderfully he knew how to avoid situations.
Oh, no.
Wait,
There's a
wait.
qualifier in that statement, though. There's a qualifier in that statement because the end of the statement is, except for the times that he didn't. Like, I'm like, oh.
Right?
Like, oh, no.
Gosh, yeah. The things that Eris says about Vel make you think that he's kind of that happy puppy Titan, that one that's just real excited to do everything and wants to volunteer for everything.
The puppies!
Yeah.
This crayon's purple.
Oh man. All right. Moving on from Vel, they get into the actual raid itself, and then they get split up essentially. So, the next one that we went over back in episode 40 is when Mota dies, which Sai is the very first one you helps Eris get the Spectre away from. And Mota dies and she's killed by Omnigul, which Omnigul
She's a
we
vamp,
get to,
though.
Sai, oh yeah, Sai is like I like Sai.
Okay, no, the reason why I say, yeah, we know. The reason I say that is because she ran out of blade dancing blades, so she's out of light basically. She fashions knives from
Yeah.
the ribs of Thrall that she kills and continues blade dancing.
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, nope, you win. Like that, I
She's-
mean, it doesn't matter at the end. And we also learned exactly how she died in Shadowkeep.
We
Mhm.
do.
We do. We do. Oh my goodness. So Sai is also the very crafty one on the fire team, which we found out in Shadowkeep as well. She likes making things, but she's
As
killed
you
by
do.
as you do. She's killed by Omnigul, which Omnigul is from D1, a very very painful strike. That was my least favorite strike. But you had.
She's a very opinionated person.
Oh my gosh.
She likes screaming a lot.
Yeah. Also voiced by Eris
Morla.
Morn, aka Morla. All the hive screams are Morla from D1. But Omnigul in that strike was there. Now she is one of the haunts or the haunts that you can do each week. And you get to go down into, I think it's not World's Grave. Where is it? Yeah, it is World's Grave. And kill her.
It's across the world's grave.
Yeah, it's down there. It's in that area. It's over there somewhere. All right, so they're split up. The next one that we went over is that Omar is killed by having his light peeled away
Like a
by
banana.
In
by
strips.
by the heart of Crota, which is a different wizard.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which is also super confusing, by the way.
Yeah, well, okay, so Omnigul is known as the Will of Crota, but she is also the brood mother to Crota, essentially. She's Crota's partner. And yes, but the light is peeled away like string cheese, which is an old quote from Justin back in the day.
Yep. That still makes, yep.
Yeah.
Well, and then the thing is the wizard, the heart, peels the light off of Omar, like skins, basically fillets him, and then uses that light to feed her offspring, who are like, so it's like basically she's peeling him apart and feeding the thrall that are like around his feet. It's like
You're saying that it's flaying him.
Yeah,
Like,
Like she's like, I mean, like
it's
the
flaying
description,
the light from him.
But I mean, yeah, it's like the light, but it's also like, I don't know, like it's this thing where you kind of have the at the beginning of D2 when you have your light taken away from you, you have that ethereal figure of yourself.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I
yeah.
imagine is getting just literally just string cheesed away.
Yep. Okay. Because and the reason why I'm saying that is because I imagine there was a very different kind of consumption going on for Veltarlo
Yes.
with the thrall that mauled him.
Yeah, because I don't know in D2, does the mark have gore all over it?
No, the mark
in
is
D1,
clean.
one of the artifacts you can get, it was kind of...
Yeah, it had blood all over it.
It was kind of gnarly.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We could just use
after
the thrall loin
T for teen.
yes, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this mission, like this. I call it a mission because Crota strike or the Crota raid felt like a strike. Let me get my words right. Once we got to the end of D1, it definitely was very quick. You can finish it in 30 minutes, quick, pretty easily. So the next one on the list is Ariana 3, which was, as we talked earlier, the one who kind of instigated this whole fire team to get together to go and attack Crota.
Mm-hmm.
She is, many believed at the time, back when we recorded this back in the day, believed that she was killed by Ir-Yut in the Death Song, and in some ways by his lack of stopping it in some ways, not that he could have, Toland. It was speculation back in the day. I did say back in the day.
Oh, like the speculation was that he could have, or that like
he led them to it. And there's still some people who believe that.
Oh, I think he led up to
in
it,
some ways that Toland led them to their deaths with this. Whether he did it like consciously or like whatnot, who still don't. There's still. It's fine.
I love how Green's just like, we're just not gonna.
Yeah.
Pied Piper all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He really did.
This raid is so super easy. All you have to do is
No,
the Titan's
He
down.
never said it was easy. He never said it was easy.
No,
That's
he
fair.
didn't.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
He said they were screwed from the beginning. He told them, it was like, this is gonna work.
Nope. But he
You guys
went
are,
along
you guys
anyway.
are idiots. But okay.
Yep.
And he's one too, because all he wanted to do is hear the death song, which is his whole reason for going with them into the pits. He hears it and it kills him. Shocker. But in the process of this, he's somehow, I don't know how he and not Ariana, he's somehow, probably with his Hy-Vee magic, able to transform his spiritual being to where now he's just a floating ball of light that talks at you and you wish you could punch.
Somebody has some.
Someone has some like issues, man. Like there's some like pent up feelings here.
No, I mean we never get an explanation on how he does this, and that's something that's kind of frustrated me. Is like, how is Toland now in the Ascendant realm?
Well, okay, so I mean, I have an idea there too. Like, Toland was a known like defender of walking in the void. he was very, very adamant. Like Toland, I equate Toland's level of control and power with that of Osiris in the old Guardians.
I would put them on the same level.
I don't think Ariana's on the same plane. Like Ariana, like, and this was also, so to clarify there too, this was back when we had Sun Singers, not Dawnblades. So like the whole concept of the embraced by the Praxic Fire was much more akin to a Sun Singer than a Dawnblade, because Sun Singers were actually able to self-resurrect themselves.
I think it's funny that our exotics in game now still represent that Phoenix aspect.
Yeah,
the self-res.
I'm actually sad that we got rid of the self-res, because I can't tell you how many times in that raid actually that self-resurrection came in very handy.
Well, even just the concepts of, like, as far as the Thanatnauts and everything like that alone, just as far as the impact of the world was. But,
well, and I think, and they're kind of talking about this. Pins is talking about this right here. Is like, you know, there was a difference in the way that Toland carried himself than Ariana. Ariana and the rest of the team really went down there with the intent to destroy. Toland went down there to explore. And Toland went down there to learn. Toland went down there with the idea that he wanted to become part of the song, or however you want to phrase it.
He didn't necessarily know that the song would transform him in any way, shape, or form. I don't think. Did he? Like he knew
about the Ascendant Realm,
right? And he knew about the song, but he didn't. It's more of that exploration factor. Like, did he know he was going to be?
So
I like
the
Black Flag. I like that Black Flag. He went with an open hand, not a closed fist.
Oh yeah, he wanted to be friends.
No, it's a parallel to Ares 1.
Mm-hmm.
He approached them with an open hand instead of a weapon, and he benefited from that. I mean, you could debate back and forth whether or not it's an actual benefit, but he didn't get eaten. He approached it with the same, dare I say, reverence that Jacob Hardy approached the Traveler. Mm-hmm. And as potentially as a reward, he was ascended. He was elevated, if you will. Whereas the others were just wah wah.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that was what was going to happen. Like, I think he went down there with the intention to find out what he could about the Death Song and then use it against the Hive, if he could. But I don't have.
That's fair too. Yeah.
Revelation swallowed hard. In learning the definition, I was unmade. He basically says, I had no idea what was really in store for me. That he even realizes he was ignorant of the actual repercussions of what was going to happen after he actually achieved his goal of hearing the song.
Yep. 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 Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so Tolan becomes the light bulb, and we're left with Eris, who has kind of been struggling her way through the different
Life.
caverns and whatnot. Yeah, life in general. I would like to know more about Eris prior to this whole transformation and everything that happens, because Eris has not always looked like she does today.
Mm-hmm. She was a
But-
human once.
Mm-hmm.
And is again.
Yeah, okay, yeah. What is that about? I am a little upset about that little nugget of annoying
What?
information.
Mm-hmm.
Read Eris's description.
Oh, I know.
I'm like, wait.
And she can
What?
breathe on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's that whole issue. Like, I'm not even going to touch that problem. But so she's just magically no longer a light bearer?
Well, didn't she? Now, so here's why that makes sense to me. When the Crota Fireteam went down there, Tolan mentions that it's siphoning their light out of them.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they're
no, I mean,
constantly being
I
drained of
just
their
am
light, so
like...
it makes sense she doesn't have it. And if without her ghost, if her ghost is dead, there's no real way for the light.
I guess
to
my
get back in.
frustration is I read that in like a completely different, like, because she is still a light bearer. Like, she is still a risen, if you will.
She's does she can't utilize the light anymore, can she? I know she can cast hive magic.
Can
Let's
she?
say
Is that not utilizing the light?
Is it though? Like that's the debate now. Is it actually using the light for Eris to be able to cast?
Last time I checked, wizards used arc, void, and fire.
Right, but does it require it?
Is arc, void, and
They are elements of the light, yes. They are manifestation elements of the light.
So I guess going to whenever we received our warlock Nova Warp powers and Nova Bomb powers, Toland said that they will look at you like you are of the Hive Wizards. And there's a lot of recognition in any class, really, where if you start delving into void powers,
yep,
they automatically start associating you with darkness. So that's where I'm starting to get to the idea of: are we absolutely positive that it's the elements that are based in the light, or it's the ability to use them that is based?
Oh, no, it's the ability. So, okay.
So
that goes back to like the old Grimoire cards.
So,
yeah,
what? This is oh my god.
Blue's flexing his arms. He's so ready to do this.
It's like this is like the whole thing, and Dino's kind of touching on it too. They're not of the light. They are manifestations. They are elements of our universe that the light manipulate and create. So you're right. It's the light that uses those elements to either do, whatever. And they actually, the Grimoire cards for these elements do a really good job of explaining this. Like it's the cycle of life that's existent in our universe, which is where you get the confusion of the 9 when they're in the Cocytus gates, because they don't understand that concept of a cycle. They come from the binary space of either you exist or you don't, whereas we have entropy. But if you look at light as like the underlying energy force or the anima of everything, then you technically are saying that, yes, you are still manipulating the universe in a form using the light. Light is basically a life-giving force, which is explaining where the hive crave consumption of it. The hive, actually, that's arguably where the hive gets some of their immortality, is through the consumption of the light, the feeding of their worms. So that,
do you think it could be more of like a kind of the humanism, or as far as our humanity's version of just trying to identify her in a way that does not associate them with the hive? Kind of like how we had not developed the names for Titans back in the days of yore, but they eventually just kind of categorized them as this is what they are because that's what they understood them to be. So since Eris Morn can't control a super anymore, we're just going to call her human, or we're just going to say she's human because she's. Not a guardian by what we say she.
Right, and again, I kind of beg the question of, we don't know that she can't achieve supers. We assume that she can't. We've not seen it, but then again, she also has immense powers elsewhere. She can teleport people. She can teleport herself. She does have some component of significant power that's on par, if not in some cases more, than any guardian. And so it's like, maybe she evolved, ascended, whatever you want to call. I mean, it also depends completely on whether or not you buy into the theory of what that glowing orb is. I guess
what I'm saying is not so much that she doesn't have power, but
it's not a transferable power as the same as the Guardians.
Well, no, not even that. Think of it like the information that's in our HUD, or where we're seeing the information being written down to us or fed to us, is essentially, this is what the Vanguard identifies her as. Because they don't want to say
yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's where I'm kind of going with, is that they don't want to say she's a light bearer and using hive magic. And that qualifies her as being a light bearer.
The other thing is she's also... the soft fact of what Dancing Vero just brought up is the fact that we know her next death will be her last. She calls that out on multiple occasions. So in some respects, even though she can utilize the light, she's not a guardian in the traditional sense of having a ghost and being able to resurrect multiple times. So she's kind of has that humanizing factor. So I can see why they put that. I also don't necessarily agree with it, but...
And I guess... because Drifter is notified or is identified as a light bearer, but he still has his ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the question is then, yeah.
What? It's
Fair.
just semantics at this point.
Yeah.
What?
So,
No.
always semantics, always with you guys. Okay, so as a kind of a quick wrap up, just going to do a quick recap. Ariana sees Wei Ning, her partner, her love of her life, die at the hands of Crota and his minions. Gets angry, collects a team, a SWAT team, an avenging team, to go into.
It was not the A team. That's all we know.
It's not that is Wei. There's no Mr. T. Although there is a Mr. T.
Yeah.
Who knows? Oh God! Now Toland is Mr. T. Oh my God.
I pity the fools.
I honestly, God, man, that fits even.
I know it really does.
Except for Toland's a lot more like grouchy. He's like,
Mr. T was pretty grouchy. I mean,
was he though?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Lately, I've seen he seems to have quite a sense of humor.
Well, he's calmed down in his older age. Like,
oh God. Anyway, so Avengers assemble. Mr. T and everybody goes into. I'm mixing up all these different references.
You really
goes into
are.
the Hellmouth. It's fine. It's fine. Goes into the Hellmouth. Start getting picked off one by one and separated and just totally not conjoined as a team. Gets to the end with Toland and Ariana. The death song happens. Eris is somewhere off in the distance. We don't know exactly where. She kind of hears the death song. Ghost, we found that out in this one.
Oh, yeah.
But she's far enough away that she doesn't necessarily get affected by it the same way that everybody else does. Toland gets turned into a light bulb. Ariana's killed and scene closed. We discover this whole event happened from Eris showing up at the tower randomly back in year 1 of D1.
After we open the Hellmouth.
After we open the Hellmouth. And it kicks off all of the things.
We've awoken the hive, even though they've been awake. I guess it was just a nap.
Mm-hmm. That wizard came from the moon. Yeah, thanks, Ghost.
It's like you want to pat its head, but you don't know which one is his head, his little points. Anyway.
Very careful with that one.
Yeah. But that's what I have for introduction episode, as far as like kind of a recap of who they are before we get into like their backgrounds a little bit more.
They are the LFG team that lied to each other about being max light and knowing what to do.
That is 100% accurate.
Yeah, I totally have a Yellowhorn. What are you guys talking about?
Like, Toland is the only one who actually knows anything what's going on and may actually be at the higher light level. He's like the only one who's actually done it.
He's the one that you don't want at the higher light level.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's
He's
way too
just
accurate.
the trolling Sherpa that's just like, I'm going to get this and put it on YouTube. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Go touch that orb to set off the events.
Boop. Okay.
Oh.
But yeah. Blue, you want to do shout-outs?
Yeah, let's do shout-outs. You want me to lead or you want a Wicked to lead?
I don't care.
I
Rock,
like being
paper,
Wicked on the
scissors?
spot.
Do it.
I like being on the spot. Or in the corner, according to Raz.
The spot.
So I think my first shout out is going to actually be to Raz. She's been helping me out a lot lately with basically helping to get some stuff together as far as preparations for our own involvement in social media and the Destiny community. So hopefully we'll be able to put some stuff out there, some content for you guys. And again, just anybody out there who is, it's getting into the winter months, a very hard time of year. So reaching back towards what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, if you're feeling down or angry, depressed, feelings where you're not really sure what to do with yourself, don't wait until it gets to the point where you don't see a way out. Reach out and talk. Even if it is just a friend, if you're angry, if you're just dealing with any kind of feelings, talk to someone. Get it off your chest. It helps to not let those feelings build up and to actually find camaraderie and other people that have been where you, and they are out there. There's plenty of places that you call, and you don't have to have gotten to the point where you don't see a way out of it. It can be for just the small little things. Get out there and really make an effort to help to understand both yourself and to get all that off your chest, because you don't deserve that weight on. So those are my shout outs.
Yeah,
Totally.
Seasonal affective disorder is a real thing, guys. And winter is definitely
Winter is
a
coming?
thing. Yeah, winter is coming.
Yeah. We literally have an entire, in the military, we literally have an entire teaching season, an actual, no crap, we ever take everybody to the auditorium and sit down and talk about this for hours. About, hey, look, here's all the things that you can do to kind of prevent this mindset from setting on to you. So believe me, if we do, it's all over the place. It's not just you, it's not just certain walks of life. It's literally anybody, everybody, everywhere is affected differently, and anybody can have that strike. So you're not alone at all, and it's not unusual.
Nope.
And it's not something to be embarrassed about.
No,
Not at all.
I think is the other thing that I know for me personally, it took a while to get over that concept is like, you know, oh, it's just me being, over dramatic or whatever. And it's like, to call a spade, or to not even call a spade, but to be blunt, it's like, okay, if that is the case, okay, sure, whatever. Still talk to people, because you might not be. And are you willing to take that chance? And that's the thing for me that finally snapped me out of it was, it's like, okay, yeah, no, this is worth trying at least. So yeah, definitely. I will double down on those shout outs. Green, what about you?
I have two shout outs. One that's kind of a funny and one that's just kind of a nice shout out. One to the devs and those members of Bungie who actually made the trip down to Australia for PAX this year. It's really awesome that they went down there and they were doing panels and everything. And the funny shout out actually goes to Mr. Log Powerslave himself for eating glue on stage and saying it actually didn't taste that bad.
That actually
as a
tastes
Titan.
not too bad.
Yeah. And Morla's sitting 2 people down. Like, Morla's sitting next to Matt Mylan.
Matt's like falling out of his chair. He's like,
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know
And
you.
You could see, like, Morla's severely grossed out by this whole situation. Like, she looks so uncomfortable in the video. I'm going to put it in chat so people in chat can see it, but it's just so bad. And Log, I love you, man. You just embody the Titan.
He tweeted that he was dead today.
I regret nothing.
I'm sure.
I regret nothing from the beer garden.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but
That sounds about par for the course for him.
shout outs to those 2 groups for sure. For Bungie to make that trip down there and to be down there with our Aussie friends, and for Log to just represent Titans so well on eating craft supplies. So it's great. Blue.
All right, well, goodbye.
With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusedFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusedfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.